Today we're setting up this TV stand. Let's make sure we got all the parts and get it assembled. So before we get started with the instructions, the only tool we're going to need is a Phillips screwdriver. I'm going to use my electric one. And now looking at the parts list, we should have 2 of these brackets right here. We should get 2 of these long legs and 2 of these short legs here as well. We should get this lower pole here. We're going to attach the legs to these ones later on. We get 4 of these casters. We should get 2 of these pole connectors here. We'll get a middle pole and an upper pole here. They look quite similar, but the difference between them, the upper pole has these 2 holes right here and the stopper on the end. Here's the TV plate, 2 of these cable clips, our shelf that's made of plastic, 1 ring brace, and then they also give us 2 bags of hardware here that has all kinds of bolts and screws and things in it. So now we're going to come to the back of the TV. I have an LGC3 and we're going to find our screws here. You should have 4 of them. And we want to find out which bolts actually fit into our holes here. So we will decide between TV1, TV2, or TV4. And essentially what we're trying to find out is, do we need M4, M6, or M8 bolts? I'm pretty sure mine need M6. And those M6 bolts are found in TV2, and now what we're going to do is take one of those bolts and screw it in the back here, twist it like 5 times, make sure that it actually fits, and if it does, good, twist it back out. And if that bolt doesn't fit, then make sure you find the one that's the correct size for yours. Now we should go to our hardware bag TV7 and grab these 4 washers. And we can connect one to each one of our bolts like this. Now we're going to take our 2 brackets that look like this and line them up. You can see this arrow right here. That arrow means pointing upwards. There's more holes on this side, larger holes on the bottom right here, and we're going to line that up with these holes over here. And so I'm going to line mine up that one of these holes up here will match this hole right here, and this hole right here is going to meet right at the top of one of these ovals right here. So I wouldn't want to align it like this, where this oval's at the bottom. I want to keep moving this down till I find the correct hole so that this hole matches the top of that oval right there. And then I'll start by threading both of these by hand. And now I can take my screwdriver and tighten those up. Now that both of those are tight, we'll do the same thing on the other side. Let's line up our bracket so one of these holes matches that hole, and this hole right here is at the top of one of these large ovals. Now let's start those bolts by hand, and now let's finish them with our screwdriver. Remember, mine's electric, so I don't have to put a whole lot of effort into this. Now we should have 2 solid brackets like this drilled into the back of our TV. Now we should grab our lower pole here, and we're going to attach the legs to it, but we need to know which side is the back of this. And so you come to the top, and where this hole is, that indicates the back. So these 2 legs back here will be our back legs. And we're going to take our short legs with these holes right here facing downwards, and we're going to slide that over top of those back legs there. 1 and 2. Go to our hardware bag, letter A, and let's grab 8 of those bolts. 1 will go here, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here to start off with, and we can start those off by hand. And now let's grab our 2 long legs and do the exact same thing. Remember, the holes should be facing downwards as we connect one of them right here and the other one right here. And let's take our other 4 bolts that we had and start those by hand down here. 1 will go here, the second here, 3rd here, and 4th here. Now in hardware bag G, they did give us a hex wrench to tighten those up. But again, I'm just using my electric driver here that has a bit for that hex key as well. Let's make sure those are all tight by giving them just a little second go. And then those should be nice and solid. Now we can grab our casters right here, and if this is flipped up, then it's currently unlocked. While we're putting it together, let's flip that down and make sure these casters are locked. And now for the 4 of them, they're going into these holes right here. 1 right there, number 2, number 3, and number 4. So let's get this one started first. So once we insert it, we can kind of grab both of these screws right here, and as you grab the bottom one, that'll help you drill it into the hole there. And so let's tighten that up as much as we can by hand, and then we can go to hardware bag H and remove this wrench right here. And we can use the larger end of that to lock onto that lower nut there, and then tighten that up as much as we can. And now our casters should be nice and solid on there. Let's do that for all 4 of them. And here's a little pro tip for you. You'll see that we have two different bolts here, one that kind of moves freely. It's the bottom one here that touches the caster that actually moves the entire bolt, while this one moves up and down the bolt. So what we want to do is make sure that that is as close to that bolt as possible when we are tightening it, because what we want to have happen is all of these need to be the same height. So look at this other one right here. You can see it's nice and tight and both of those bolts are together. You don't have to have them together like that. You could have them separate, but I want them all the same height, so I'm getting them as close as possible. And as I'm tightening them up, it is possible that this one here is tightening up faster, so I just tighten like this, and then you can see there's a gap. I reduce that gap by spinning that one a little bit, and then again tightening them together. And that's how I get rid of that gap. And now we should have all four casters on like that, and they should be nice and tight on there. Again, lock them up just to make sure that they're nice and tight, and then we can set that on the ground to get ready for the next part. Now we're going to take one of our pole connectors and connect it like this. It doesn't really matter if it's connected like that or like this, it's the same either way. And we can take that pole connector and drop it down into here like this. You'll see that this set screw right here is poking out of this piece right down here. Now let's take our middle pole and attach it on top of that. And then we can take our hex key and tighten up that bolt right there. Again, I'm just using my electric one. First with hand, tightening it up. And now that should be nice and tight and should be stuck together. Now we go back to our hardware bag, grab one bolt from A, one washer from B, the one bolt that's in C, and the one little thing that's in D as well. And we're going to pair those with our top pole here, as well as our TV plate. So we're gonna find the top of the pole right here, and we're gonna set it down back into this piece right here. But remember, we wanna make sure that the back of it, which is this hole right here on this top pole, is facing away from this plate. Drop it in there. Now we're going to take our C bolt and we're going to put it through the top of this bracket right here. And we know which side is the top because we have this piece right here that says upwards. There's a little arrow right there. I'm not sure if you can see it very well, but there's also another symbol right here that says up. You should be able to see them on the inside as well, the arrow and up. So on that back of that bracket, this is the top hole right here. We'll set that down, and that C bolt is going to go right through there. And that will go through the top hole on the top of this pole right here. And now this nut from bag D is going to attach to the end of that bolt right there. And for now, let's just tighten that up with hand. Now let's go to our hardware bag and grab two of these bolts from section A and two of these washers from section B. And take those washers and put them on the bolts like that. And then come down to this bottom hole right here on the plate, and we're going to screw that in to the holes on the side of this top pole here. Again, let's just start those by hand. And now all those bolts should be fairly tidy right there. And if you need to, you use the wrench, the smaller end here, to tighten up that top piece. And then your hex key, again, I'm using my electric one to tighten up the other A bolts there. There, now it's nice and solid. And now we'll take our other pole connector and put those pieces together. Again, it doesn't matter if it's connected like this or like that, it's all the same. And then we drop that into this piece right here. And then we take our hex key or our electric driver and we tighten up that nut that's in there. And then we take this piece of the TV stand that we just made and drop it on there like that so all these holes align, and then we tighten up that screw that's in there again. Remember, you can use a hex key, but I'm using my electric driver. But at this time, our TV stand should be standing tall and looking like this. And now we can take these cable clips and we're going to attach them right here on this pole. So these holes are all going to line up like that, and we'll attach them with two of our bolts from hardware bag letter A. So let's get that lined up, and then we can start those by hand. You can take your hex key and tighten them up. I'm using my electric driver here, because just watch how easy this is. And now our cable connector should be nice and tight like that. Let's make sure we do that for that one and this one down here. Now we're going to hang the TV on the stand, but I want you to see that we have 1, 2, 3 downward facing hooks here, and so we're going to connect that to the stand. And the way you want to do this is that if you want to have your TV really high up, we're going to connect it to the third one. If you want it to be in the middle, it'll be on the second one. And if you want it to be the lowest and most stable position, that'll be on this first hook right here at the top. So I'm going to use that one to start off with. And basically I'm just going to take that hook and drop it over top of this edge on top right here so that it hangs onto it. And here now you can see how those hooks lean over top of that lip right there. Now let's go back to our hardware bag, letter F, and take out those two pieces. And we'll have two pieces that look like this in there. And so we're gonna have our piece positioned like this with the screw facing down and the little lip pointing in. And we're gonna bring that to this hook right here. It's one of the upward facing hooks that's right below the plate right there. And we're going to drop it into there like that. And then we're going to tighten it up. We can start that by hand, and if you want to, you can finish it off with a screwdriver. And now that should be held sturdy in place. We can go to the other side and do the same thing with the other one. Now we can go to bag letter E and grab those two bolts, and letter B and grab the remaining two washers. Put the washers on the bolts like that. We can do that for both of the bolts. And we'll also need this bracket right here, and those bolts are going to go down into it like that. And we'll grab our tray right here, and those bolts are going to go in through these holes right here after we put it around the body of the pole like this. We're gonna get that bracket and wrap it around and put those bolts in. And so I'm just going to start one of these by hand like this until it's loosely in there and hanging on, and then I'm gonna wrap that around the pole like this, and then put that together, and now start that other bolt. And again, just starting by hand here. And then we can tighten those up with our Allen wrench or our hex key. Again, I'm just using an electric one here to make it easier. Now we can take our cable here and run it through these cable management clips in the back. There's one here, and then there's one lower down here as well. Now we have that controlled. Now if you find yourself having any problems with the tilt of the TV, like how it looks in this angle, or if it's left or right too much, you can always come back up to these bolts in the back right here. These ones right here are going to affect the tilt of the TV, so you'll be able to take it and tilt it back or tilt it forward. All you have to do is just loosen this one up right here, loosen the other one up on the other side, tilt it how you like it, and then tighten them back up. If you have a left or right adjustment, like maybe your TV's tilting left or right, you can always use these bolts to do the exact same thing. And now the final step is to roll the TV back into place and enjoy.